here to tell you that anxiety sucks. Yes, it does. But you can definitely heal from it. Let's dive into it. Anxiety is something that I lived with for a really long time, and I just kept ignoring it and disassociating from my experiences and my traumas. And by doing this, I use unhealthy coping mechanisms such as drugs and alcohol and relationships, social life, all of these things that can be so easy to get caught up in, and they are just these numbing things that kind of make the problem go away for a while, but not really. And I was just in such a dark place when I ended up falling into my past relationship that just toppled things and just made things all so much worse. But it also gave me like that wake up call I needed of waking up out of this disassociated state I had been in and how lost I was for myself. And I feel like it is something that a lot of us can find ourselves in, is losing that sense of self. And I think that's really one of those key things of kind of healing and beginning to find comfortability in the world you live in. For example, I'd be driving somewhere with my mom and, you know, you'd think we'd be fine and dandy, but I'd be like on the verge of almost having a panic attack because everything in me was saying, no, we need to be at home. Home is safe. That's our safe place. And that is just something like how anxiety works is your brain finds these spaces that are comfortable, and your amygdala, your protective, ancient brain, wants to keep you there, wants to keep you in this little safety bubble, because anything outside of that, it screams, no, 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 this is scary, something could happen, and all the what ifs begin in your mind. And that is like a lot of times where anxiety gets triggered, are the what ifs and outside of your comfort zone. To get a little scientific about anxiety and triggers, I'm going to reference the book Unfuck Your Brain that just really broke it down in such a like consumable way to understand it. She's a really great writer and has so many things in the book that can be really helpful. The book is talking about trauma because anxiety doesn't just come out of nowhere. Typically it comes from having traumatic experiences in your past. Trauma is something that is an experience that happens to you that is outside of your known normal and comfortability. So it can be any variation of something. No trauma is too small or too big. If it is something that happened outside of your known world, then it could still be a trauma, and it can trigger anxiety because trauma is stored in our brain in an area where it stores it in association with memories. Gosh darn it. I forgot to turn my phone on silent, so little bleep bleeps on there. So trauma being stored in our space of memories. Trauma is associated with memories, and that's why anxiety can just pop up out of nowhere. She's just like, hey, I'm gonna fuck up your day. And that's what we don't like, because you can just be out working, or you're just out trying to have a good day, going to some coffee shops, going shopping in the grocery store, and some sort of smell, scent, or sight can just all of a sudden trigger that memory associated with the trauma. You might not even know where it came from, and all of a sudden you're just in full-on sweats. You're just sweating, your adrenaline's going, everything's heightened, and you're like, okay, I am triggered, like what is going on? To heal anxiety, you have to kind of dive into yourself and find the root causes to what triggers your anxiety, and how can you find space to heal and learn and cope with these types of things. And I will give you some just like tips that I have found that were very helpful for still going out and giving yourself exposure therapy. That is something that is very helpful when it comes to overcoming anxiety, is exposure therapy. Going outside that comfort zone is where you can also teach your brain that life is okay, that you can go out into the world and you're not going to be run over by a car or eaten by an animal, because that's our ancient brain. The amygdala is a part in your brain that is connected to your frontal cortex. She gives you the actual detailed names on it, but I always remember the amygdala because that is our ancient brain. That is the part that can really ruin your day. But it's located in the back of your head, connected very close to the spinal cord. So once that ancient brain turns on, it can just send out those different chemicals into your body to trigger all of those not fun symptoms. They call it the ancient brain also because it's that space in our brain that was supposed to protect us back when we were living in the wildlife and some saber-toothed tiger could come and kill you, or a bear, or anything like that. But now it's like, okay, what if my car breaks down? Okay, what if I get lost? What if? And going out and experiencing things and experiencing it and then getting to come home and have that feeling of like, we did this. It's okay. That's exposure therapy. That's where you can train your brain to understand that it is okay. But some things that can be really helpful when you're going and doing this are, can't always carry ice cubes, but ice cubes, you might have seen this on TikTok or on Instagram, but it is a known thing, and she talks about it in this book, that holding a very cold ice cube in your hand tricks your brain from being in that amygdala and goes into its sensory space of the brain, because then your brain is sensing and feeling this ice cold, this very cold thing in your hand. And so if you start to feel a panic attack coming on, an ice cube can work really great when you're at home, but we can't always have ice with us. I mean, you can, but I've got some other ones for you. So I carry either really icy cold cough drops. They can be super helpful, and or sour candy. I never tried this one, but she says that raisins work really well, so you can always try that. Those are some little snippets on things that I find that can be really helpful that you can carry in your purse. Some really minty gum, that could also work, because you're just wanting to get something that is really sensory and can bring you out of that state before you fall off the cliff and you're in full-on panic attack. So I want to explain the difference between just anxiety and a panic attack. Anxiety can be just that kind of like playing field, and then the panic attack is when you fell off the cliff. And it is really just like the full-on, the real deal. And anxiety is just something that you can easily kind of get yourself out of with some of those coping skills that I talked about. You can also, you can use the 333. I knew it as like 5 different things, but this is like the way that I've ever gotten out of a panic attack. I haven't been able to do it on my own. When I've been in like a full-on panic attack, you will experience, your hands will curl in, and you literally, like, you can't open them, and it hurts. It's when the adrenaline has just full force taken over your body. The amygdala has totally hijacked everything and is running the show. And it thinks that you are in extreme danger, and it's like, maybe like the freeze method, because you can barely move. And your vision might get blurry, everything in your face gets really tight. It's very uncomfortable, it's very scary, but my mom was always able to take me through a sensory experience, and it's seeing something and then verbalizing it. So she would say, name 5 green things that you can see. And I would go through those. And then name 5 other types of objects that you see. Colors can work really well, or specific objects. And then she would even go into like 5 things you love about me, 5 things you love about your dad. And like, oh, it makes me emotional. But those types of things really pull your brain back into its sensory thought side of the brain. So that is definitely a little insight on how you can deal with panic attacks. Having someone help you can be fantastic, but if you can't, you can go through the 5 senses. So 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And by the time you get to taste, you should already be feeling yourself settle down and be able to breathe again and kind of release the energy, because anxiety is just built up energy into the body. And so sometimes if you kind of start feeling just a bit anxious, shake it out. Shake it out, shake it out. Do a little dance. Make a little love. Get down tonight. So since anxiety is energy that builds up in the body, a huge thing that became part of my life for many reasons was working out at the gym. Not everybody can have a gym membership, but honestly they make it very easy to, because price points are very attainable, I would say. And yes, maybe you might say, the gym's just not my thing, but it can be anybody's thing, because physical activity is just so crucial for body and mind health. And when it comes to anxiety, releasing the energy can be so key. And a lot of times I've had evenings where I feel anxious and I just go to the gym and I feel just so much better afterwards, because of the different endorphins that release when you work out, and when you're working out you're getting to release that anxiety energy. And so the gym had been a really crucial part of my healing journey, for the fact that I also dealt with eating disorders, so I became very like thin and uncomfortable. So building muscle was really important to me, just getting that healthy, strong body back. And you can also build a strong mind when you're in the gym, because you're just so focused on the muscles and the physical activity that you're working on. And any beginner can start. You can find what works best for you. May it be yoga, at home workouts, but just make it so small it's obtainable. The gym being, and physical activity being something very, very helpful. I also found medicine with just walking. For a long while, my walks would just be, I would be so anxious, but now they're just like a space that I can just go release some of that energy, take in some of that fresh air, and I just feel so much better afterwards. As I was saying, that anxiety comes and stems from trauma. And, you know, you can't always deal with your trauma by yourself, and that's why I still highly recommend therapy. And being able to have a therapist, they can help guide you through these memories and keep you grounded in those moments when you start to feel those rises. And they can help you guide you through the rise and the fall, and just kind of all the things that you need in life. And so that's why I highly recommend BetterHelp.com. I'm not sponsored by them, but one of the main spaces I know have made it very possible for anybody to find a therapist. I specifically have a therapist who is specialized in trauma, in sexual trauma, relationship trauma, and I think it can be really helpful to find a therapist that is specialized in maybe some of the traumatic experiences you've had. Maybe it might be family, or like I mentioned, sexual, whatever it may be. Find someone that you can feel safe and comfortable with, I think is really, really important in healing those parts of you, because I think it's really important that you can feel safe and comfortable within yourself and your daily life. To talk about medications and other outlets that may be useful, definitely just talk to your doctor and do whatever feels right to you. I'm someone who believes very strongly in a holistic approach, and that's why I used things like ashwagandha, and magnesium can be really helpful, and I used just healthy coping mechanisms that were able to get me through those really intense times of stress. I refuse to take anything that is from Big Pharma. That is my opinion. You should definitely continue to find what is best for you, but I recommend using and trying ashwagandha. It works amazing. And sometimes I had to use stronger medications, but it was very, very, very rare that I ever had to use like an anxiety medication. I'm excited to keep going on this journey with you through my experiences and helping you navigate your 20s to your 30s. Whatever it may be, I am just here to share my story and kind of continue to share my journey and what has helped me and kind of just my life going forward, healing through trauma and just navigating life.